Hey, all you Gretas and Shoe Scouts out there. Welcome to Unit 5 of APES Notes, Section 15, Sustainable Agriculture. So we're going to look at traditional versus conventional farming. So here we go. The goal, so we have talked in the past about industrialized agriculture. Now we want to do the sustainable way. This is the good way. So the goal of sustainable agriculture is to feed the world's population without destroying the land, polluting the environment, or reducing biodiversity. We need to fulfill the need for both food and fiber, enhance soil quality, minimize the use of non-renewable resources, and allow economic viability. This usually requires more labor, but hey, that's jobs. So sustainable practices, the big one is soil conservation. You don't have good soil, you can't grow anything. So one way we do this is through what is called contour plowing. So you want to plow and harvest along the contours of the land. This is going to reduce erosion because things are going in the same direction the land is going. You can create windbreaks. So if you have these hedgerows around the edge of fields, this is going to provide wind shelter and protect from erosion. So both of those things are going to help keep the soil healthier. Perennial crops. So these are plants that you plant once and then you're done. They don't have to be reseeded or replanted every year, so they don't require annual plowing or herbicide or applications to establish. The same with, like, say, fruit trees or berry bushes. You plant them once, you've got them. So planting things like that would require less long-term effort. Terracing. So instead of planting on a hill that things are going to wash down, you have these wide flat steps that are constructed on the slopes, and this is going to massively reduce erosion. You can have what is called no-till agriculture. So here we have soy growing amongst old corn stalks. So there's a lot less erosion, there's less oxidation and production of CO2 that I mentioned in former or past lectures. The drawback is you often have to increase the use of herbicides because of those competing weeds. So something to think about. You can do what is called strip cropping. So you plant two or more crops together that work synergistically together. So the corn requires lots of nitrogen. The peas fix the nitrogen. And remember, that's the fungi on their roots are taking the nitrogen from the air, turning into ammonia that then the corn is going to pull up. So these guys work with each other to make them healthier. So once again, sustainable practices is improving that fertility of the soil. So ways you can do that, crop rotation, and there's a game that we will play in class where you want to reduce the specific demands of one crop on the soil and prepare the soil for the next. So once again, it promotes synergy. So if you do like peas, then corn, everybody's happy because the peas put the nitrogen in, and then the corn, which isn't even in this picture, would then use it up. So you make your legumes, then you go to the root vegetables, then the fruits, then the leafy vegetables, and you just go around and around. But everything is going to be in depositing and taking different things from the soil instead of the same thing every year. So crop rotation, really good. Poop. Using animal and plant waste as fertilizer instead of synthetics. So we talked about how organic fertilizer is much better because it actually makes the soil healthier instead of just going to the plants. So you take your safe to use animal droppings and you mix it in with water and you use that to water your plants with. I've got worm castings at home, chicken litter. I just make part of my compost. So dogs and cats are no, pigs are a maybe. Pretty much if they eat vegetables only, you're safe. And no, I don't use my own poop to fertilize. But any of these animals, it's absolutely fine to use the animal waste. You just don't want that meat decaying because it comes out still meat. Limestone. This was part of one of your FRQs. So the calcium carbonate is going to neutralize the acidic soil. Remember, soil acidic, when you're making the soil more acidic, plants aren't going to grow in it. So you need to make it less acidic, and you want to add a base, and the easiest way to do that is to use crushed limestone. This is going to allow the soil to uptake nutrients more efficiently. So lime is introduced to both supply calcium and to restore the pH balance. Liming is by far the most cost-effective solution for neutralizing soil. You can find this stuff everywhere. So adding limestone, rotational grazing. So you start here, and the cows or the whoever, they look like sheep, eat the grass. Then you're going to move them over here. Some farms will actually bring chickens in next, and the chickens will eat the bugs that are growing on the poop. They'll help break that all down, and it gives the grass a chance to grow up. So then once you've moved your cows over here, and then maybe move chickens in here, the cows will get moved here, the chickens will get moved over. So by the time you come back to this pasture that has grown up, any poop has been broken down and has fertilized, and so you're all in a good place. And once again, you're not paying to feed the cows or the chickens because everything they need is outside. So once again, rotational grazing, you have these large paddocks, and they're going to be moved once you hit that like 50% mark of the grass. And then you move it over, they're left to recover, and then you grow back up and repeat. Healthier livestock means you have to spend a lot less money on other stuff. So now we're into organic agriculture. This is no synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. It's not to say that organic food does not have pesticides or fertilizers, but they're not synthetic. So the organic market is definitely going up. In 1990, part of the food bill was the Organic Foods Production Act. Labor costs are high, but you can sell that food at a premium. Think about more expensive food at Whole Foods or farmers market. But Aldi also has a bunch of organic food for cheaper prices. So growing organic food is growing, definitely increasing. But the amount of organic farms, the amount of certifications of organic stuff, and the sales growth from 2002 to 2011 is crazy high. More and more people are buying this organic food. More and more people are staying away from the pesticides. And I talked about those in previous lectures as well. So free-range beef and chickens versus the CAFOs that I talked about with industrialized agriculture. So benefits. The animals are treated better. The ethical and humane treatment of the animals, much fewer antibiotics and medications are needed, much less fossil fuel use. They're eating the stuff outside, so you don't need to bring in that supplemental feed. And any and all animal waste is recycled back into the land. You don't have to worry about disposal. It's a smaller amount of animals, so there's not that amazing amount of poop that they need to deal with. It's a manageable level. Drawbacks is it definitely requires more land and the costs are higher. However, after you get it set up, many of these places are showing profits. It's just that initial startup is higher. The other thing to think about is we don't have the land to meet America's current meat consumption levels. So we can do this organic farming, the free-range beef and chicken, but people are going to have to reduce the levels they eat because to do it this way, we don't have the land to support current meat consumption levels. So just something to think about. There's a couple articles that are linked to in your packet that you can see online. So go ahead and read those. He has written an amazing book I would highly recommend called Omnivore's Dilemma, which will tell you a whole lot about all of this stuff. I've got a copy of it if somebody would like to borrow it. That is it for notes. You guys have survived. So before I go, I want to let each and every one of you know you are good enough, you are smart enough, and people do like you. And in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good God, do your homework.